Hello guys, welcome back to UK Here We Grow. Today is the 26th of November and as you can see our red currants here have dropped all their leaves and it's had quite a fair bit of new growth this year. They've been cut in such a way that it's starting to open up the centre. Now this does a couple of things. It stops sawfly laying the eggs in the centre of the bush when it's totally full. It allows air to get in there and they don't like that. It allows the circulation of air and overall it gives you a better bush and a larger production. But now is the perfect time to move these, and as you're aware we are building a fruit garden over at the new site, so all of our fruit is actually going over there. So in this episode we're going to look about moving a fruit bush. And the first things first is to get this out of the ground. As you can see, we've got a raspberry cane that have come from the side there and it's shot up. We'll dig that out separate and we'll try and keep that as well. So the idea is to get the fork down into the ground and bring as much of the root as possible. We don't want to check this tree, but there's no sap flowing or anything within this tree now. It's totally dormant, okay? So all we need to do is come back about a foot from the bush itself and just leverage right the way around. So we want to give it as big a root ball as possible. And notice guys, I'm using a fork. I'm not using a spade. If I use a spade and push a spade down, it's going to cut those roots. Now, we want to get as much of the root ball as possible, so instead of cutting the roots we're going to use a fork which will work amongst the roots and free them up, okay? And it's literally just a case of working right around and leveraging up the bush to loosen up some of those roots. Eventually it will free itself up. Now you will hear snapping because you're never going to get every root out without breaking any of them. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to bare root them, because I don't want to take this soil with me either, just in case there's any cut grass or anything. But I'll have a look. It's looking pretty clear around here, so I'll have a look what the soil is like underneath them. Now you may notice on the ground while I'm here there is some mushrooms here, but you see this white stuff? That's mycorrhizal fungi. That's built in within the wood chip, okay? And it's really good for the ground. But we're going to use some of that anyway when we replant. So, now I've gone more or less right around. Let's come by here. We've got ourselves a border as such, and then we're going to get in a bit closer underneath then, so we can actually get underneath them roots. These are right down there. This is going to take us a little bit of time, but just keep playing with it and it will come. There we go. Just keep rocking him back and forth. Oh, you don't want to do that, guys. Need a new fork as well as a new spade now. Okay, so it's typical someone starts strimming when we need it. The situation here is this root has gone way down. We did really prepare this bed well. So what we're going to do, we're going to use what's known as a bulldog fork, okay, or trenching for spade. Very, very narrow, okay, and this will help get down. It may break one or two roots, but there's not a lot we can do about it because I've broken the fork. But this will give us the leverage we need. Definitely there we go. It's moving. Whoa. Sometimes, guys, there's not a lot you can do about it, but you want to keep as much of that root ball as possible. But sometimes, like I said, you need to really get in there with something that's a bit more heavy duty. You have to excuse me panting away here. Right, let's have a look here. Wow. So we've had to break a few roots, but look at the root structure on that, guys. It is huge. But what we're going to do is try and shake out a lot of the soil out of this. There's loads and loads of fine feeding roots, so this will recover really, really well. But what we want to do, like I said, we want to get out as much of the soil as we can out of it. The soil isn't bad in here. We're at the new plots now, and we've brought the 6 red currants over with us, and we're going to put them in this bed here. So we've dug, as you can see, a nice big hole. This big hole is just so we can spread the roots out as much as possible, okay? The first thing we need to do with it is give it a bit of feed. We're going to put some calcified seaweed in the hole and in the soil around it. Okay. Can also put a bit of bone meal in it. Okay, this will help just to put some stuff in what we need. Because don't forget, it's not like we can do a lot with these bushes and stuff after they're in, okay? So whatever we do needs to be done now. This is the one that we saw dug up earlier on. As you can see, nice big root system. And all I'm going to do is put it in the hole first off, just to see how we're looking on this hole. Right, I'm going to need to take out a bit more. As you can see, it needs a really big hole. Okay. What I'm going to do, because it's quite a shallow root. There we go. So, right, the next thing, I'm going to put a little bit more down in here now, because we've buried that stuff. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now the next thing we need to do now is position this in the hole. Okay. So I'm happy with that there. I'm just going to just move a bit of soil there. Right, the next thing we need is some of this, guys, okay? This is a mycorrhizal fungi, and what this does, it's a fungus that will live in the soil and it'll attach itself to the roots of these bushes. Essentially, it works as a symbiotic relationship. It'll pull nutrients from the ground around that these particular roots haven't actually reached yet. So it helps the tree. And also the fungus benefits by taking like a substance out of the root. So it's a mutual benefit of both the tree and the fungus. So all we need to do is a little granular powder, and it must come into contact with the roots, guys. So it's just a case of just chucking it around the roots like that. Okay, I'm going to give it a little bit more. It doesn't need huge amounts, but obviously we want it to get in there and get going good. Right. So what we're going to do now is just get all these roots down the best we can. There we go. And then start filling it back in. We're going to work it down around the roots. This soil is really, really moist, guys, so I'm not worried too much. I'm not worried too much about watering it first off, but we are going to give it a really good water afterwards. And I'm just working that soil right back under the roots. And what we'll see later on this year, or later on next year I should say, is that these will throw out more roots just to make sure they secure, and they'll also put out a load of fine feeding roots. So we need to get some soil underneath them just to support them up where we want them. There we are, that's looking better. Looking better already, guys. Hey, look at that. As you know, we dug this really well before. Okay, next thing then is just to get your boot in there and just to firm it down. Don't crush those roots, mind, but you're just looking to anchor them in. There we are. There we go, I'm happy with that, and then we can prune to suit how that looks. Okay, so there's one other thing we need now, and that is a load of this around it. There are absolutely tons of worms in this, and this will mulch the ground and keep our plant nice and happy. Don't worry about this all falling down. Most of this will be used in the next few days. Like I said, the beds were these bins were only temporary put there. I hadn't even finished building them, but we've wanted to use them. So we've given that bush now the best start it can get. Just going to put my gloves on now to spread this out. I'm not a lover of working with gloves, but there are times when I think that that you need them. So just get on our hands and knees. I mean, just going to show you guys. There are absolutely tons and tons and tons of worms in this. Look at them. You know, so I mean, look at them. They're absolutely everywhere. All right. So and it's well rotted stuff. So all we're doing now is getting a nice thick layer around the tree. It'll fill up. And we'll come back and prune these then at a later stage. Now the thicker you put this mulch on, guys, the better. It will stop any perennial weeds or any normal weeds coming through that we don't really want. So get it right up there, it'll help protect the roots. Don't be afraid to use the stuff. Any of these branches that are close to the ground we will trim off at a later stage. There we are. Right. Okay guys, so there you have it. All 6 plants are in. It's a bit of a mess here, I know, but we'll deal with that later. But the main thing is all 6 plants are in, and it's got a really good mulch. Now this mulch is going to stop any weeds, or so suppress weeds. It'll break down, it's already rotted anyway, but it's going to continue to feed these plants now for next year and what have you, and we'll just keep topping that up. Now the good thing about it, we've planted them just a touch deeper than they were, and what that will do is allow more branches to come from the root mass up through, because there's a bit of soil there, and it'll mean we can get rid of some of the older wood. On this second one here, as you can see, it's a lot smaller than the others, but we got rid of most of them branches, so you can see most of the branches in there now are nice and light and what have you from this year. Now next year when we come to prune, we'll take out the last of those branches, and then the plant will be totally renewed. The others will be required to have the same sort of treatment, so they will drop down in size a little bit while we sort of take out some of the older wood. But we want to do it sort of a third, so it'll be a 3-year sort of process, and do a third. So take out a third of the old wood, and then the next year take out another third, and the year after take out the last third, and then start the process all over again. Anyway guys, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.